Tell me with the charcoal of which wood. Buddha would be able to identify clearly each and every charcoal, that which wood's charcoal it was. And likewise, there was a Shakya by the name of Mahanama. Shakya Mahanama also challenged Buddha with his intelligence by bringing grains, collecting grains from various families, and made Buddha to identify the grain from which family. And the Buddha identified the grains and owner of each grain from each of the families. So this shows the incomparable knowledge of the Buddha that could not be overpowered.
Top na la zewa me ba sonje top te yen dog to zit nen to ma de se ba te top sa no to ku top heavy ba de sonje tenji de no hyon fa che ku hin na ga ti chong ba man do sonje de no hyu chi che de long ga do chen bo ye se no ba chong ga se no ba chong ga yin da te mi ta sum ju ko ya de de do chi 매바 시에고도 텐데도 공조 매바 시마도 저는 송제 롱 배우도 송제 도대 라방을 놓는 영진 볼품 버리셔 구이 톱세.
His strength cannot be challenged. Here refers to mainly the qualities of the physical strength and might of the Buddha that nobody could possibly challenge. It is once said that there was a huge boulder that has fallen on the middle of a road. And some say that the size of the boulder is almost like 30 meters wide, and that no one, not a big crowd could push it from the road. And then they invited the Buddha, but he was able to lift in no time and throw in huge distance. And this is like refers to the strength, physical strength of the Buddha could not be challenged or overpowered by anyone.
Sanjay Tamjeji Tembas to Chaton Naga, Deva Toyagu and Khenchen Yandao Yere de Tarduke, Dunga Tawane Meba, Dunga Yen Je, Deva Tan and Jujumenke, the Neglamgat Nage, Sonje Member Yama, just Sanjay Tamjeji Temba.
He is the teacher of all sentient beings. Refers to that while there are many teachers who may show and act as teacher to a certain number of sentient beings, but there are none who could become and will become teacher of all sentient beings. The other teachers may show some temporal ways that suit the aptitude or the predisposition of those particular sentient beings, that there will be none who will be able to liberate and benefit each and every sentient being. Whereas the Buddha, on the contrary, suits the teachings according to the intelligence of each and every sentient beings and all sentient beings, and reach them to the state of enlightenment. And therefore he is the teacher of all sentient beings.
The
reason why he is a teacher of all sentient beings, because he enables all sentient beings to realize selflessness, whereas no other teachers expound that. Without realizing selflessness, enlightenment is not possible.
Shonchu Semba Nongji, Yap, Pavi Konza Nongji, Jarbo Siti Pena, Jarbo Chile, Sosoke Se Yori, then Namon Yori. Se Tavode, Shonchu Semba Nongji, Jeza Sonjete, Shonchu Semba Nongji, Yabi, Shonchu Semba Nongji, Se, Yechepari. Pavi Konza, Jarbo Siti, Brachambala Soba Tenam, Sonjek Monhi, Sonjete, Jarbo Yins.
He is the father of Bodhisattva. He is the king of noble ones. This here refers to the king who has a crown prince actually carries out the wishes of the king, and here refers to but the Bodhisattva is the father who makes possible for the Bodhisattvas to appear, because the Bodhisattvas are the crown prince of the Buddha who carry out the teaching, carry out the actual teaching. The kings have many things. The most important thing the kings should have is a crown prince who carry out the legacy of the father. So the Buddha is the father, bodhisattvas are the prince who carry out the legacy and the vision of the king. And therefore he is the king of noble ones, meaning it sets others on the path to eradicate their not so noble ways, but to makes them to become and adopt the ways of the nobles.
When a Buddha party reads Shibari, Jisha, Paga, no long set ponza, so on Chashi, then no soon job shaker. Nisha, Teneti Montes or Toshon Shaggy, Tartu, Javacono, Cosatogia, the Neglegate, Shonju Sempe Shagris, Sonjak Rizuchum, Jabu Ponza, no get Sonjak soon teso, double job. Then Bon Chombanogi. Lama sonje durja lama teso sojon she tatu sonje ba yanza den shonju sembano sonje series.
Just like a prince the son of a father has a various legacy or duties to carry out, that is, as a hereditary lineage holder of the father, he will firstly inherit all the material wealth of the father, and he will protect them, he will make sure that they do not deplete, they increase, and subsequently, as a crown prince, he will look after the well-being of the subject, and look after their well-being, and finally he will rule the kingdom and bring prosperity and protection to his subjects. Here, likewise, the bodhisattva, who are the crown prince of Buddha, will protect the wealth of the dharma from being lost, but being protected and bring practice and propagating them, and therefore look after the subject like sentient beings, subject like disciples. The disciples are treated as subjects and look after their well-being. Finally, all disciples are established in attaining enlightenment. So that's why here the term is, he is the father of the bodhisattvas, who actually ensures that all the prince-like disciples are able to carry out the legacy of the actual enlightenment.
Then a month is okay, Jabu Chimte soon, then Kononson Jabu soon chopchin and on the weir, Peteno yin, Yato Teso Sonjak Jab Chimte soon to do then so to have top wears.
If the subjects who listens or obeys to the commands of the king usually get a good protection from the king, and likewise the disciples such as Shravakas, who actually follow according to the words of the Buddha, then they are able to carry out to reach the state of the aim they so desire.
Nyangele de Bitron Jedon no Devans Pena Jamsu no to Rohin Tesor Goji Yore Devans Devante then Janso Nation Troncheto Tree is Pete Hindu Kori Janson Tarbi Troncheto Tree Donkin Devanta Yinsum.
He is the guide or navigator of those who journey to the city of nirvana, meaning those people who travel on the sea has to depend on the sea captain or navigator. The sea captain totally takes his passengers from one destination to the other shore. And likewise, Buddha is such a guide or the navigator of beings who are drowned in the ocean of suffering, and he therefore enables them to journey and ferries them from the ocean of suffering and to reach the dry shore of nirvana. And therefore Buddha has this is actually expression of the qualities of the Buddha's activities. And next is expression of the qualities of the wisdom of the Buddha. The intelligent wisdom of the Buddha is immeasurable. He is the possessor of knowledge that no one is able to fathom or measure or give an estimation. With ordinary sentient beings, their knowledge is limited, the knowables are unlimited, so their knowledge doesn't match the knowables. Whereas the enlightened one, Buddha is one who actually knows all knowables. There is no knowables that is left ununderstood by the Buddha. Therefore, since all knowables are immeasurable, Buddha's wisdom matches that immeasurable knowables. So that's why he possesses immeasurable wisdom, because all the knowable phenomena, their distinctive relative difference, are all understood and realized by the Buddha, whereas ordinary sentient beings' knowledge are limited.
Powa samji me chapa sonje powa te ngeso samtu mare chapa pena sonje yende minji ba ye chapa minji ba ye se du nyemo bateno tarbi ke yin se sonje tamja chapa la o te mare se chu me dan bi gorwa senge yore sonje chu mare se te ngone chu don temba riba don tembi gorwa senge tamja hi tung te ne un sombi Hianoya Marisum, the Lam Galaso, Lamji Gale Galaso.
No.
Menjiba
Menjiba. No. He possesses inconceivable confidence, meaning Buddha's confidence or courage is not something anybody can imagine or conceive. It is beyond ordinary anybody's conception. Buddha endows four great fearlessness. Four great fearlessness, meaning Buddha has such a great courage and confidence, and that when defilements normally obstruct our way, most people become discouraged by defilements, and they turns back or they relapse. Whereas the enlightened one, instead of becoming discouraged by the defilements, the Buddha is able to concordantly apply an antidote to destroy the relevant defilements. Therefore, he is not frightened by the immensity of the defilements, fearlessness of the obstructive defilements.
Tele Hiano Yama. Nyamo Bano Tarvilamji, K Inse, Tamja Cheba. Dame to be Kerap de Lava Sumta, Tarvilam Inse, Khenchen Shebala, Hiano Yama,
So Buddha is completely fearless in terms of the obstructive nature of the defilements. He is fearless of the obstructive nature of defilements, and at the same time the very wisdom that leads to the path of liberation, the actual sheer time and duration that it takes for the length of time to achieve enlightenment, that also doesn't. He's fearless on the actual nature of the path that leads to liberation. So in this way he is totally free of all forms of intrepidities.
Then soon number taba sonje soon till the jan yamare so jan konge number taba pena sonje chu tendu soon comment of chava. Then soon ngasin reme banda ngasi kong garde banda. Then jan tane yamare so.
So now makes the quality. He's expressing the quality of the Buddha's speech. His speech is completely pure, meaning when Buddha utters or speaks, there is no discrepancy or faults of being too high a note or too low, deep a voice. Neither the formal statement does not contradict with a later elaboration. So there is no internal contradiction in terms of the substance and the subject matter, as well as the actual tone and the language in which is delivered.
Yung nyamba se tu sonje song de kona ludong san devo shege wale. Teka nong gen dong rin tu trawa se tu sonje song de tharin tu kane nyena yung song tomen me ba to gre se pe na rugda tao. Rugda de kane to na chejo me ba choge ba do. Ten te tabu yan de song ji le yan de chu chu yo le so. So nyamba la so ba.
His melody is pleasing refers to the very sound or tone of the melody of the Buddha's speech is so pleasant, so mind-pleasing. It's so pleasant, so musical, if you like. There's no one who would find difficult to like it, difficult not to like it rather, and everybody will be pleased. It brings joy in your audial consciousness, joy in the mental consciousness. Both audial and mental consciousness could find itself in a great sense of pleasure and happiness by merely hearing the sound of the words of the Buddha. And that's one of the qualities, meaning pleasing to listen to. That at the same time Buddha's sound or voice could be heard from any distance. There's no danger of being too soft for the near ones or far ones, and therefore it is could be heard from anywhere by anybody. It's just like the sound of the thunder. Sound of the thunder could be heard by anyone, wherever they are. And likewise, Buddha's sound is neither too soft nor too loud to ordinary sentient beings. So it is pleasing, soothing, and completely liberating, and joy-providing, joy-causing power is transmitted in the very echo of the words of the Buddha.
Kuzhe tawe chu mihiba, kusana kuzu imba, shesana domba, tena chu mihiba, hindun zebu yorse, kase tena lo misen chunze chi mihik.
One has never enough of seeing him, meaning seeing his body. Buddha's physical form in general and his face in particular, it defies anybody's imagination. Nobody gets tired of looking at the Buddha. There's no matter how much they look, it continues to intensify the joy and happiness. There's no one who will have any sense of tiresome feeling of having looked or been with the Buddha's appearance for so long.
Ku tsumba me basam sonje kolen rendru che tongken yun ya mare che bare penan zebu kandaji ya te sonje kundan sona te manze ba chog ya ziji chembo kandaji na la ge jawon ro sonje tungdu sana yun ziji mengen chog ya che za sonje ge kolen ren tongken ji me sumba ku tsumba me ba.
His form is incomparable, meaning the physical appearance of the Buddha is such that nobody, however attractive, however handsome and they normally is known for, as soon as they appear in front of the Buddha, they completely look the opposite. And there's no matter how whoever is very glorious, even the kings of the gods were to come in the presence of Buddha, they look they're completely different. So therefore, the very physical appearance of Buddha is so awe-inspiring and incomparable in anybody's imagination. Beings who are in the form realm have their own defilements, have their own sets of feelings that are afflicted. But Buddha do not share any of those afflicted defilements or feelings that are common to the beings residing in the form realm.
Zu maybe tengen zen sonja yore te zu me jan nye mo ba to dungar kong to mande kong me sumber.
He is not affected by the formless realm. This refers to the third realm where beings do not have form, or arupadhatu. The beings residing in the formless realm, while have very additional qualities in comparison to the two former realms, but nevertheless they themselves have various defilements and various faults and various sufferings. But the Buddha is unaffected by any of the afflictions that are shared by the beings residing in the formless realm.
Dungar tala number 2 so the consum just semche nam dungar mengen ji amare terma za nyato power da chamba na then sem madevi sem ge dungar yamare te zubo dungar yore then sonje de dungar tala number 2 dungar ko mesumbare.
He is completely liberated from suffering. This is referring to that beings residing in either of the three realms of existence, sentient beings are born there due to karma and defilements. They are all subjected to varying degrees of sufferings. But there are no one who doesn't have certain levels of sufferings. Not only that, even the Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, though gone beyond sufferings, but they don't have mental suffering. Physically bound in the mortal body, they still have to face certain physical sufferings. But the enlightened one, here Buddha, that the third person we are singularly referring to, he referring to Buddha, the fully enlightened one, is completely liberated from any form of suffering shared by both sentient beings as well as Sravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas.
Then Pumbo come Shenchi number Trova Yeshivare, Pungam Shenchi Sumbotele, Sachedo, Sami, Yoriti, Sami, Pungam Shenchi Sonjelo Yorete, Sache, Pungam Shenchi said, Dungari Yinke, Niamu Yinke, Pungam Shenchi Tele Trova Yinsum.
He is completely and utterly liberated from aggregates. When it refers to that, there are beings who have aggregates and who have what we call elements, and as well as sense faculties, sense objects. All beings are subjected to these correspondence of physical aggregates as well as one's inner elements and sense organs and sense objects. Here the aggregates itself are two kinds: contaminated form of aggregates and uncontaminated form of aggregates. The contaminated aggregates are subject to sufferings and defilements, whereas uncontaminated is not. So when we're referring to he is completely and utterly liberated from aggregates, meaning we're talking about utterly liberated from the uncontaminated form of aggregates.
Pumbo Siribana, Pumbo and I, Zuji Pumbo Siricilo, Zu Dranato, Molo, Melo, Amala Suvatele, Zuji Pumbo Siriole. Sorry, Pumbo Sana, Sorva, Devado Dunga and Yomatis. So, when we refer to liberated from aggregates, the aggregates in plural refers to the five. The aggregates of form refers to things that are visible, that are externally that you can see, and internally it has certain substance. And feelings refers to mainly pleasant and unpleasant and any form of feeling that beings are subjected to. The poor in the Morius on some Samju.
The third aggregate is aggregator of perception. This is our sense of ability to perceive things, that this is male, this is female, this is that. The ability to discern and perceive one from the other is what is called aggregate of perception.
The
fourth one is called aggregate of volitional actions. This means that any form of things like faith, compassion, jealousy, or whatever mental volitions through which we cultivate actions are called aggregate of volition.
Namke sana make it namke zu heavy make it namke dra heavy navi namke daw you true change number heavy true waters.
The fifth aggregate is aggregate of consciousness. This itself is divided into 6 subcategories: 6 sense consciousness, visual consciousness, and so forth.
This suggest nyamon be zu deva that I will pumbo ngabo te sonje le mare somber nyamon xibi.
So when we say contaminated aggregates, meaning the aggregate that are subjected to the 5 defilements, this Buddha do not have aggregates that are afflicted, and so therefore he is liberated from contaminated aggregates.
Comes and Jules segment, namke shivi juyinsa come. There are no case if you tell Shil Zoo become less of a true, you're true. No mig come less of a ombo true year. You don't ombo true, but the English shape in heaven, no he true, Georgia, but comes again. Then saw Jaggy come to no son maze.
So he is not possessed with the constituents, or dhatus refers to their 18 constituents. These 18 constituents are 6 sense objects and 6 sense organs, 6 sense consciousness, such as 6 sense objects is like form and so forth in relation to the sense organ icon, eye. And even if you have sense organ and sense object form, but yet if you don't have the sense consciousness, so these corresponding 6 groups of 6 between sense objects and sense organ and sense consciousness, therefore it makes the what is called 18 constituents or 18 elements, and the Buddha is free from such contaminated form of 18 constituents. Even though Buddha possessed various sense organs, but nevertheless it's another sense organ through which eyes, visual consciousness perceives sense object with the contaminated mind or defilement and karma. So therefore, when it is free from the affliction and karma, even the divine wisdom eye, there is a consciousness and visual consciousness and sense organ eye that Buddha possesses, but nevertheless it is not contaminated by karma or afflictions. Therefore, the Buddha is deprived of 18 constituents which are afflicted by defilements. Therefore, it is called what we call uncontaminated. Uncontaminated meaning things that is not controlled by afflictions. So the sense fields are controlled refers to, in Tibetan the word sense fields refers to Khenchen, meaning that which gives rise to, because when you have sense such as form, then it becomes a cause to give rise to the visual perception. Even if you have sense organ eye, but should they lack the visual form, they wouldn't be caused to rise a visual image. So therefore, the visual sense fields are sense objects such as form, sound, taste, and so forth. And they relate corresponding sense organs are the 6 sense organs. So this makes the what is called 12 ayatanas or sensory activities.
Migi zu tong nawe dra tu jele pe zu te yabondu nyebondu dra nyebondu minhimba du samno ti korya ti samno ti jele zeba don nyebote sole ndacha zeba de minhimba da sole hedon chegere teno ombu go madambare ombu go tamsana migi zu tong nawe dra tu na tele zombo nyamba sambinam tu miji.
So when it says his sense fields are controlled, meaning that Buddha's sensory organs such as eye, ear and so forth, though have corresponding consciousness to see forms and hear sounds and taste and touch and so forth, his senses are completely subdued or controlled. Normally when our sense organ comes in contact with the relevant sense objects, such as if you look at a form, you might find it beautiful. You might find a form that is beautiful, it evokes desire and attachment. If it's unpleasant, it evokes agitation. And most beings are often fall prey to the sense objects, and therefore they lose control over their sensory perceptions, and they are not able to abide in the state of equanimity. Whereas Buddha, one whose senses are completely subdued and controlled, first of all, when you acknowledge a form, there is a thought that this is beautiful. And as soon as the thought of identification of beauty registers in our mind, then we become attached attached, we want to possess and become attached to it. Buddha is completely free. His mind is free from all conception of becoming possessor or falling prey to sense objects. This condition doesn't happen for a fully enlightened one. This is the reason why it is said that his sense fields are controlled or completely free from falling under influence of sensory object, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant. So there's no danger of attachment to beauty, no danger of agitated or have aversion to that is ugly. So that's why it is called Buddha's sense organs are controlled.
Ndoba na kindu jebasana nyamon pon yin shebare nyamon kmingle ndoba seyo sergoya pena mini bajin zanhon nongle taba damse telen ndoba jabgona tene ror kawoyo pete no ge korwa zanhon tabon na nyamon ko tesoge nyamon ban ndoba tahote nyamon ba taba ndoba japsene something yanda namye resum sonje ke ti nyamo pindoba te nam hera prita bade ke jetra yesu ndoba no kindu jeba.
He has completely cut the knots. This refers to one who has not cut off or severed the knots of defilements. Then the knotted defilements create knotted karma, and then karma actually makes oneself completely perpetuated by the knotty karmic activities and brings oneself into self-imprisonment. For instance, people who have created knotty karmas or karma actions that are afflicted by defilements, they have knotted themselves so hard to the extent that they will be placed in a restricted place where they will be tied in chains, and they could, even if they were free from the chains, they could not possibly go out of the prison because they're completely bound up by the karma and defilements, and they don't know how they got knotted in the way they have found themselves. But fully enlightened one, on the contrary, with the sword of wisdom, do not allow any such defilements to prey upon one's actions, and therefore no actions are consummated that will find oneself imprisoned. So this is referring to Buddha's complete ability to not fall prey to defilements, and therefore the actions are not ones which actually makes oneself having to face the consequences of self-imprisonment. Buddha has completely cut off by the sharp sword of wisdom. Possibility of any knot developing is always cut away, and therefore referring to one is completely extinguish any form of defilements that causes negative karmas to occur.
Tene yonsu dunga tawle number 2 yonsu dunga sana nyamo balsege nyamo batala yonsu dunga saikoyate nyamo shevika le semba madevasi semba maigosege tene nyamo bi semtege sosu ludo ngani bo yobo korchane le mekamo bo sheju yade tene ti ndebo nyogo du ndebo te ke rongi lunga yinso dongte nar kangal shegi ba yinsa nyamo ban yonsu donga ser sonje de tele torsen ba yinsa.
It further is elaborated by the next sentence. He is completely liberated from extreme torment. His extreme torment is usually a result of the afflicted karma. Afflicted karma, when a person first of all comes under defilements, he or she become completely fall under the influence of affliction, and at the very beginning when they give rise to affliction, they are tormented. When they execute, meaning they use the body and speech as a servant or as an instrument to execute the defiled actions, then both body and speech itself are tormented. And the process, meaning in the process of executing the action, And later on, when the consequences or negative results of those karmas themselves fall upon oneself, it even become more extreme than the causal level or the path level. Then the result itself ripen on one's body, speech, and more importantly on one's mind. So most beings are subjected to not only afflictions, but when the affliction rise, affliction is executed in form of action, and later on when it becomes a result, it is right from the beginning to the middle and to the end is the suffering after suffering. So the fully enlightened one, like the Buddha, is completely liberated from such extreme torment because of freedom from defilements in general.
Seba le trova, seba himbar, seba le trova, seba sanam da sho. Komsong ko na chi ju zo da pena la ka jing ka zon jin da de nyam bi nam ke non seba re je ba seba se lu sem jen le choba. Shurugi Yojela Choba, Devala Choba, Devala Choba, Del Seva Segio, Des Sonje, Des Seva Trovas.
So next is liberated from craving. Why this word craving is emphasized is one of the primary factors of all our suffering is craving. In all the realms of 3 realms of existence, why beings are born again and again in the 3 realms of existence, primarily because they have craving. They crave for sentient beings that they want to become close to and be loved by. They have craving for material objects, specific objects to come into their possession. They crave for happiness and pleasantness. They crave for being praised and liked by others. All of these, while natural for most sentient beings, are actually the very primary causes of suffering. The Buddha, on the contrary, is completely liberated from that craving. Craving is the cause of desire and attachment and unable to let go. And these are usually related to sentient beings, material wealth, happiness, praise, and so forth.
Chuo le garwa, chuo sana yo nyamon pi mi chuo don davores, chuo ke semjen chenro no yin, nyamon bate semjen la so chenro no yin, nyamon bate semjen nam ten korine so chenro yo reso, to sonje te di chuo te chermatune te la parodo garson reso.
He has crossed over the river. This also is the word river is analogy of the river of suffering caused by defilements. Most beings are drowned in the river of their own negative karma and defilements. They are unable to rescue them to reach on the dry other shore. They constantly find themselves drowned deeper and deeper into the unceasing flow of negative thoughts and defilements and actions they create. The Buddha is completely free from those defilements, and therefore he has succeeded in crossing over the river which most sentient beings are drowned into. So therefore it's a fully enlightened one is one who's completely free from any drop of river of defilements that makes the river of defilements, meaning he's liberated from all kinds of afflictions.
Yeke yonsu doba sedu heja hebi yeke kake mena teni heja kake chen ba chokrete sonje le yeke konga yonsu doba yindu heja tamje zegi yoresum.
He is perfected in all the wisdoms, refers to the one who is omniscient. His knowledge is omniscient, meaning he knows all possible knowable things. Most people's knowledge is they know only partially. They know some, but they don't know the majority. And therefore they never are perfect in their knowledge. If they have knowledge, they become victims of those knowledge. Buddha not only becomes the knower of all phenomena, but he is perfected. He has transcended the all forms of knowledge, and therefore have become the possessor of the transcendental wisdom.
Mon chewata namto ko sam ko yo sonje tena maiba keja tamche ngan sumtu sigere te o remati maiba to se jig to the tamche sigyo
For instance, when we talk about knowing our object and knowing our object, it requires specific factors to be able to know. In order to see our form, for instance, we have to have eye. And not only we have to have eye, we have to have an eye that sees. And not only that, we have to have discursive thoughts. Even if you have eye and form there, you still need discursive thoughts to recognize the object. So our ability to know is often limited by many of the factors that we do not have possession of. And even when we do know something, it is usually gradual and is dependent on many other factors. Therefore, it is gradual. Whereas the Buddha's knowledge is not gradual; it is spontaneous. It doesn't require steps to take to know anything. It is spontaneous and omniscient.
So
when we say he's perfected in all the wisdoms, there are many different ways of categorizing wisdom. There are 21 categories of wisdom. There's 10 wisdoms associated with the 10 spiritual strength of the Enlightened One. 2 spiritual wisdoms referring to the wisdom of knowing the relative and ultimate truth. So there are different types of categories of wisdom. So meaning here he is perfected in all the wisdom, meaning however many categories of wisdom there are, he is the possessor of all such wisdoms.
Majem sonje yeke tadarshu sonje du sonje sonje pangak yeke te sonje chile yores penange so member tawina tigi kheba te yandag ma khete ye tu mombo chudurshi ko etle chogre sonje de chile sonje konga kal chengi na te rongi chemba yores kandi chugo yamare.
When it says he abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavans who arise in the past, present and future, this refers to, for instance, the present Shakyamuni Buddha, and he abides in a state of wisdom that is not different from that of the wisdoms endowed by any of the Buddhas of the past, present and future. So meaning that the fully enlightened one endows all the wisdoms possessed by all the Buddhas of different times. For instance, an ordinary sentient being, in the field of medicine or doctors, if they may have certain opinion about a patient, but yet they want to know what is the opinion and knowledge of other physicians. So by consulting many people's knowledge and wisdoms, then they try to come out a conclusive understanding on what it might be. Buddha doesn't require such consultation process because for he knows simultaneously to have the knowledge of all the Buddhas. So that means the one historical Buddha is therefore embodiment of wisdom of all the Buddhas, of those who have gone in the past and those who will come in the future, and not to mention those who are abiding here in the present day. So the sentient beings, of course, are innumerable, and you can't measure their number. The knowledge and wisdom of enlightened beings are such unfathomable. All the Buddhas may differ in their outer physical features in terms of their height and so forth, but nevertheless the inner wisdom of all of them do not have any difference. They all share the infinite wisdom of knowledge of all phenomena.
Sonje de semjele nije chembo yaba yenza niji onge nyangene de vital yu mare sombre.
He does not abide in nirvana refers to the kind of nirvana of the lower vehicle. The lesser vehicle practitioners or sravakas and generally lesser vehicle practitioner, when they reach the top of nirvana, that's called nirvana of cessation, meaning there is nothing whatever they can do for the benefit of sentient beings. But Buddha, while refusing to abide in such a nirvana of cessation, out of the compassion for the sake of sentient beings, he, instead of residing in such a nirvanic cessation, he instead comes back to the world and remain in the world and therefore benefit sentient beings.
Yon taba niji talan, yon taba sana, yon taba ni sana, dame bari, tomba ni. Kare, nyangalan debe talan, meneba, yon taba niji talan, neba saru, tomba ni dobi hirala ne res, te nebi jonsenji, te kori talan, meneba res,
It says abides in the ultimate perfection. It refers to the fully enlightened one, neither falls into the extremes of worldly existence nor in the extremes of the nirvana of cessation, but therefore he abides in the ultimate perfection and unfailingly continue to benefit sentient beings.
Samje tamchela zip sala yuba, samje tamchela sana yeri meba, ke samje kongala, tuje chembu. He dwells in
the stage where he sees all sentient beings, meaning all sentient beings, meaning Buddha do not have any sense of partiality. He does not feel biased to some sentient beings as near or some as a distant, without any such distinction between near and far concept. Buddha dwells as in a state of great equanimity, where he sees and feels and shows his great compassion, a great realization of compassion. He feels the closeness to all sentient beings indiscriminately, and therefore he abides and sees and knows and reaches all sentient beings.
Tate sonje yente pe tsemba tsamje resumba pe tsemba samkhebate sonje jamden de thamje chewi sana yene maybe yente chebato pop yente yon tawa sana yente meba yepa rotava maiba ngonet yins.
All these are the perfect virtues of the greatness of the Buddha Bhagavan. Refers to these are just mere token expression of all the perfect virtues, meaning usually when people praise the qualities of others, usually people fabricate, they add more than the quality does exist. Here there is none of the qualities expressed are such fabrication. They are mere token of the infinite qualities of the greatness of the Buddha that has been explained.
Tene kasas, tene sonjete yante chembure, yante samjim chapare samna tenji tena yo dibatan royeres damba nyamson ina damba sorchu royeres.
It is said that by merely recalling the qualities of the Buddha, seeing the greatness of the qualities of the Buddha, or thinking the qualities of Buddha is inconceivable, by merely recalling and thinking like that, it is said that it can purify many negative karma and moral transgressions that you have not known how to purify will be purified by recollecting the qualities of the Buddha.
Sonje son kale ponchi yimba nyojan rokare langane sonje ki chusumba tuni as sonje ki songde tende nyembo jindu so saji tendu tori mombo tobne tatu tarba toba yin sumbari
It is said that the Buddha Kashyapa, once having given teaching, someone who had received the teachings, returning home, reflected on the teachings she heard and felt a great joy, how wonderful and uplifting and inspiring those teachings. As a result of that, by merely recalling the greatness of the qualities of the teachings she heard on the way home, it is said that she attained liberation.
송제게 천지제나 사람 전부요래. 천 로르 존나 사람 전부.
The name, just merely reciting or speaking the name of Buddha once itself is a meritorious deed. Not only that, if one memorized the names of Buddha and reciting them are also meritorious.
Pena 송제게 구주라오지 살지제나 편 전부. 니마지를 살자통나 못된 속에 편 체론도요래.
For instance, if you were able to pay homage or see an image of Buddha, if a single image of Buddha, or that many more images of Buddha you are able to see, that much your merit will increase.
송제를 메도다오 지푸나 송제한테 전문도 섬이 대바 지세나 내가 레버 몸부터 다도 예발 타바토고 인수만.
It is said that if you were to make a single offering of a flower out of faith and devotion to the Buddha, it will purify your temporal negative karma by engaging in such a virtuous act, but it will slowly lead to the cause of attaining liberation.
송제의 천에 토야도 송제의 구주 야야 대소령 사람 몸보면은 잘 두만에 두만에 좀래.
It is said that one without a great amount of merit accumulated in the past will not meet our circumstances to hear teachings of the names of the Buddha or being able to see the images of Buddha. Therefore, these are reaping the results of good karma of the past.
대능에서 자면하게 남아본 더버생에 배워버리.
For instance, our Chinese Buddhist Dharma friends recite Namo Amitabho. It is a great, very, very great, meritorious thing to greet friends with. It is one of the best things to say as far as verbal karma is concerned.
Don't be true. She choosing it congal no congal choose you know sonje soon be choosed don't be chosen to your shoes but ambassador your shoes.
So now we go to explain the second gem. The second precious gem is the precious gem of Dharma. And this is expressed by the phrase, the holy Dharma is good in the beginning, and good in the middle, and good at the end. This refers, the word Dharma refers to any phenomena. Any phenomena, any objects are called Dharma in general sense. But when we say holy Dharma, we are referring to holy and sacred Dharma. Sadharma in Sanskrit refers to the teachings, the Buddha Vachana given by the Buddha. Word spoken by the Buddha, teaching given by the Buddha is only sacred Dharma. We're talking about the qualities of that.
Surely, London Toby chose, long chosen, Zonjaki Zona, Toby chosen, go with Demba, Namji Demba, go with Demba Sana, Lam Yaneshe Jembe, Rong Sem, Trematon Travate, Lamji Demba Sana, Da Meba Toby Yekedon, Nigelas, Tenamle, Poppy, and Dentist, Lamji Demba Kyoyo. The holy Dharma that is taught by the Buddha are two types. There's a scriptural Dharma and a realizational Dharma. Scriptural Dharma is the actual recorded teachings in the form of scriptures. And the realizational Dharma is subdivided into Dharma, realization Dharma of path, realization Dharma of cessation, what is called the two truths, the truth of cessation and truth of path.
truth of cessation is where one is able to engage in the practices. By engaging in the practice, you are able to allay or get rid of the stains or impurities or that were previously staining your mind. Is now you're able to cease them from occurring. That is, practicing and realizing the teachings makes you to stop such negativities to stain you again. Is called the truth of cessation. Truth of path is whereby you engage in the path that which assists you to gain the realization of Dharma, selflessness, and the realization of great compassion. You have deep conviction in the understanding of the selflessness as well as the virtue of great compassion. This is what is called realization Dharma of truth of path.
Then truth to the end, then give us some zombo ni, and then ye, then also.
So here, when the qualities of Dharma is expressed in the following words, the three virtues, and two noble qualities, and four qualities. When it says good in the beginning is when you first hear or understand the teaching, it totally totally instills an element of rejoicing faith. Therefore, it's called good in the beginning.
Padu gevas sombi nekap sambasana sosu riba ke tawse ton kable tene chute ke gawachim puchi res jeza padu geva.
Good in the middle is after hearing the teachings which give rise to joy and faith. When you contemplate on the meanings of the teachings, the very contemplation or understanding from thinking itself promotes the joy that was cultivated in hearing. So therefore, good in the middle refers to the process of contemplating on the meaning of what you heard, even fosters the growth of the joy that was cultivated from faith.
Tamaragevasana Gambi Gamshana Tene Lorula Subiente Semi Bashiba Yinta Tamaragevas.
The good in the end here refers to if you meditate on top of hearing and contemplating, then it increases your intelligence and all kinds of meditative realization occurs. And that's why it is called good in the end refers to the meditative activities.
Then Zombo needs to Dan Zombosana Pena Yun Kahe Jaja Minka and Minka Kahe Jaja Pemedoki Sintilu Yet Sonja Sun to Jajate Tanzana Jajate Zombo Yins Jaja Demba Nikema Yona Nakapno Tatuke Pentaglam Kevena Dan Zombos.
So now that is the first is the three good things, and the two what is called the noble factors. Two noble factors here refers to the meaning of the teachings of the Dharma are excellent. Here refers to the two kinds of excellent qualities, meaning that if some subject matter, that is the topic which is discussed, is that there is no really subject at all. A lot is said, but there is nothing really substantial that is worthy of thinking. Others who may have subjects or topic to be discussed, but it's a completely corrupted topic. It has no meaning whatsoever. Whereas the teachings of the Buddha, when you listen and study, it is free from these two follies of not having any substance and wrong substance. Here the teachings of the Buddha gives both temporal and ultimate happiness, to bring happiness and causes of happiness both temporally and ultimate happiness is derived from the teachings of the Buddha. And that's why it is called the meaning of the holy Dharma are excellent.
Tsindru Zombo Tano Sonja Sungteso Lolan Zen Devo Kasarbo Nawali Nyembo Yoresu.
when it says its words are excellent, meaning the words of the words spoken by the Buddha, or the phrases themselves are very succinct, easy to comprehend, deep in meaning. That has a deeper meaning the more you comprehend. So meaning it has a very, 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 very pleasant and excelling quality that is not found in other words.
Mandrepa se soldier chode churu yanda do mandrepa temo mai bi yante yesumba pena mutepa ya te sole tarwa rubju yore tena di ngenjunte dunga le ngebranju dunga le kembalu ngenju dewa le kembalu ngenju yore te yo soche tamje le ngebranju ante yamari te do ngenju yo manwa lam te sukon le dame to vi tawa yamari sonje mai ba jeza sonje kusumi chode chulu yanda do mandrepa te mo mai ba yinso.
The teachings of the Buddha are uncorrupted. Uncorrupted really means unmixed, meaning all the teachings given by non-Buddhist teachings do have certain features of the teachings, but nevertheless their teachings do not have complete comprehensive understanding. They may expound, for instance, renunciation from suffering, renunciation from attachment to pleasure, and nevertheless they still uphold to grasping to a supreme soul or supreme being. So therefore, from the point of view of renunciation also, there is a big difference between the teachings of the Buddha and the non-Buddhist teaching. The path also, Buddha's teaching shows on top of developing renunciation, it teaches how to transcend that very self, the very ego to transcend. And so therefore the realization of the view of realizing selflessness is only taught by the Buddha. Therefore it is unmixed, meaning it's unmistakable. There's no danger of getting confused with the teachings of others. That is the meaning of the words of the Buddha are therefore uncorrupted. It is completely distinctive and uncorrupted.
Yonsu zowa se pena yeso men rabira men nasa khayele pemba memba kongal pena yamari sonje sonte nyemo konga memba che to yore che jesa nyembo yonsu zowa.
It is completely perfect refers to that the teaching that is given as a remedy to allay all sufferings has the capacity to function as a panacea to get rid of all sufferings, unlike ordinary conventional medicine, which only can cure the actual disease but not necessarily the others, sometimes even side effects. Buddha's teachings do not have such side effects. So that very teachings of Dharma functions as an effective remedy to all defilements. There is no Dharma medicine, teaching that is Dharma, that doesn't function as a medicine to heal all the illnesses of defilements.
Yonsu tawase pena jan nyamon batezo samki rongyen yina tene nyamon pong toya yimari pena tsawa de me rongyen yinza me yimba kong hile tsawa menken she toya yimari yina yon sam nyamon batsangi de lobru jujen tsuru shon de bari samki rongyen de nyamon pe yonsu tawa